Y'all see me okay? Is the lighting okay in here?
I have no idea.
I have the light on, I think.
Back to You with Dr. Mona Minkara.
Welcome to Back to You, where we interview friends and fans of Planes, Trains, and Canes.
Hello, we're here again with Back to You, where we interview fans and supporters of Planes, Trains, and Canes. And today we have Thomas Reid. Thomas Reid is the producer of Reid My Mind Radio. That's REID My Mind Radio. It's a podcast. He talks about relevant issues that, hits the individuals, like issues related to individuals who are losing their sight, but blind community. Wouldn't you say, Thomas?
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. Targeting people who are adjusting to becoming blind. So I like to say, featuring compelling people impacted by all degrees of blindness and disability. There you go. And occasionally I tell stories of my own experience as a man adjusting to becoming blind as an adult.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if you want to learn more about and listen to his podcast, information will be down below. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mona?
I got my vaccine, first dose, so I'm really excited.
Okay, cool.
To get the second one and hopefully get back to some semblance of normalcy. Maybe I'll get to travel again. We'll see.
There you go. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
So my first question for you is, how'd you find out about Planes, Trains, and Canes?
Yeah, so it was one of those evenings, one of those nights really, where I could not sleep and just kind of said, hey, let me just grab my headphones and my phone that was kind of next to me on the nightstand. And, I went on YouTube like probably a lot of people do. And one of the suggestions in my feed was Planes, Trains, and Canes. And I said, oh, wait, I remembered hearing about this because of the Holman Prize. And I did, cover folks on the Holman Prize on the podcast before, but not your group, right? Not that year. And so I was like, oh, cool. And I started watching it. And it wasn't good to help me fall asleep. I'll tell you that much, Mona. so you did not help me. It actually kept me awake. Yeah, kept me awake because I wanted to see what was happening. And, I had all these weird feelings while I was watching. It was like, some anxiety and just kind of saying, oh, my goodness, this is different. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And yeah, I was hooked. I was hooked after that first episode.
That's awesome. That's really awesome to hear. And also, it's really cool that YouTube suggested Planes, Trains, and Canes. We haven't paid any advertising. So maybe we should. I don't know. But do you feel like you connected with it when you watched it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Like the first thing, one of the first things that I noticed was, okay, she's doing what I thought I would do in these sort of circumstances, right? Like, I travel, but I don't necessarily travel. I get assistance in the airport to kind of get to my gate, right? That's always been my style, just easy to do. And I thought about it at one point, like, okay, let's say I didn't, because there was actually one time where I was waiting on an assistant and they were taking pretty long. And I just got up and said, forget this, I'm going to go figure this out. Like, I got a better shot at this point. And well, anyway, that story doesn't matter. It ended up that flight got postponed. But what you were doing was of interest to me because I was like, okay, that's what I would do. I would have to talk to people to get some direction, get some idea to make sure, even if it's just a confirmation. But if you're going to gate 100, you need to know, do you go to the left or the right? And so that sometimes you may just need to ask someone that. And so that was really cool to me. It was just like, okay, no, that's okay. This is what I would do. I haven't done it yet, but I felt like, okay, yeah, it's doable. Mona did it. I could do it, right?
Well, we'll see if Mona can do what else can Mona do. But I'm glad that you felt a sense of connection. It was really interesting because like not getting assistance in Atlanta was the first time I ever did that in my life. I'd always gotten assistance because it's easier. Why not? Atlanta's huge. But I was like, I'm trying to push the boundaries here. So I'm going to try to do this on my own.
And what an airport to start at. Yeah, that's a big airport.
It is a really, really big airport. And I went the wrong direction, but then I went, whatever. Eventually I made it. And I made it on time. And I was like, well, this is great. Yeah. It felt awesome.
I bet.
My next question to you is, do you feel like even though you're blind yourself, do you feel like you learned something new about blind culture, or just
Um,
anything new in general?
yeah, I mean, outside of just confirming some of those stuff, but yeah, absolutely. Like the one that stands out to me in terms of what I learned, and I don't, I don't know if it's, I don't want to say like I fully learned it because I can't be sure, but it made me think about the experiences of, and I'm always thinking about, of blindness in other places, right? And so it was that the episode that drives me bananas, that if ever comes up to PTC, this is the one I talk about. I will talk about that. And that was the one in
Yeah.
London, and that whole encounter, right? And so I don't know, to me, that said a little bit about blindness in London, at least, right?
Yeah.
Some aspects of the way blindness is perceived, the way people are perceived and treated. And now, again, I can't confirm it, so I, direct all inquiries to Mona. Don't direct them to me, even though I'm saying it. But I wonder, like, what is the treatment and what is the situation like for folks in London? Because it felt like there's this sort of coddling that's happening there, and it made me really wonder about it. And so, if ever I get the chance to talk to people from London, I'm always curious as to their experience. So
And it was really cool. I got to talk to Red Cell, who was a Holman Prize winner
yeah,
the year before, I think, or 2 years before.
yeah, I spoke to
But
them, yeah.
I was like, is this just in my head, or is it just like this difficult here? Like, are people just assuming this all the time of me, that I can't do things? And he kind of confirmed, because he told me that when he went to San Francisco, he was shocked that people left him alone unless he asked for help. That
Yeah,
he just kind of did his own thing. He's like, here in London, we were talking at the time in London. He's like, in London, the expression is that people will drag you across the street even if you didn't want help to get
oh
there.
boy,
You don't want
yeah,
to go there. So
right,
it was kind of cool to hear that from a Londoner, as opposed to like, am I just like too American for these people? Like, I don't
right,
know, like what's going on. But then I went to Istanbul, and it was very different there too.
yeah,
Like, people tended to leave me alone unless I asked.
okay, okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it's
I was
different here everywhere you go in the States too, right? So
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
I mean, there are parts of the United States that doesn't have any public transportation.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I'm trying to think. Okay, so were there moments? So one of the things that I try to do in the show is to discuss these issues, but in a lighthearted manner, with moments of comedy. Do you feel like that was achieved?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you have, your personality has a comedic nature to it naturally, right? That at least that's what it comes across. Like you just naturally like to incorporate. You're funny, right? And you like to have fun. So that definitely comes out. But also in terms of the production, like, yeah, to the left, to the left, to the right, when people are kind of changing you, trying to go in all these different directions, and you guys pulling that out was extremely good, because that's what happens, right? And that's why we have to confirm directions, because you can ask two people right next to each other. One will tell you go left, one will tell you go right. It's like, hey, somebody
Yeah.
here is wrong.
There has to be, unless this was quantum physics and it's
you know?
transposed, and it's like,
Yeah.
mm,
So, but no,
um,
there were definitely funny things that happened, yeah, along the way.
I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about Planes, Trains, and Canes and the project is figuring out how to tell the story afterwards, because it's like, I found these moments funny. I found these moments important. I found them, and so it's like sitting down and talking to Ted, who's the editor, and be like, Ted, okay, we gotta like extract this, we gotta extract that. Like we need to really emphasize the comedic moment here, but then really emphasize I was feeling anxious here. And that was in and of itself a very steep learning curve for storytelling.
Yeah.
And so that was a blast for me.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's very cool.
So my next question for you is, do you feel like there should be future episodes of Planes, Trains, and Canes?
Yeah, to me, there's a lot that could be done with that, and so it can go in so many directions. Because, like you brought up the aspect of people in, who live in these areas, right? And so, what is life like for them? Because part of the thing also is that you can never really know what it's like as a tourist when you go somewhere, because people act differently when the cameras are on, right? People treat
Yeah.
tourists a lot different because they want them to come back, they want that money. But to really sort of find out what it's like for someone there, you have to talk to the people. And
Yeah.
that to me would be a really, really interesting thing, to incorporate more of that, what the culture is like from the perspective of the people who live in these areas.
So I tried that's really interesting, and I think it would be really cool down the line to like maybe go to blind schools, or schools for the blind and things like that. But I tried to also, one of the reasons why I chose public transportation as my mode of transport in these places is because I wanted to be part of the masses, right? I could
Mhm.
easily have been just like Uber here, Uber there, Uber here, like it's like there's no navigation required for you if you're Ubering everywhere. So what was it like, for me? Like I wanted to know how it would be to just go up and down the escalator and go into the trains like everybody else. And I
Yeah.
felt like I really got to get exposed to even part of that. So I can't even imagine how it would be if I more intentionally immersed myself.
No, absolutely. And even that, like there's so much within that, because you mentioned like going to the blindness schools, and that's really specific, right? Those are
Yeah.
probably younger folks coming up, and you'll learn something about the culture of blindness there. But then what about, and again, this kind of is, where my podcast is,
Yeah.
right? What about those who are adjusting and don't have that experience? What is it like for someone who may have been living their life in, okay, Istanbul, right? And
Yeah.
and whatever their career, whatever they were doing, but then they're impacted by blindness. What happens then? What is it like for them? What is
Oh,
that
I'd love to
conversation
talk
like?
to people like that. Yeah, I'd
Yeah,
love
like
to.
yeah, that to me is really interesting.
Because also I think it depends on the what culture has propped up to be blindness. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
if
yeah,
if the culture's like blindness is the end of your life, and
right,
as a catastrophe, then of course that person's gonna feel like they're facing a catastrophe.
exactly.
If it's just like, oh, it's another thing, and like,
Yeah.
my last question for you is, well, second to last technically, but if there's a group of people that you would like to see watch this show, well, who would they be?
Okay, so this kind of comes from, again, coming from where I come from in terms of my
Yeah.
thought process, where I think the natural answer would be, the public, the general public, those who are not familiar with blindness, right? And while
Yeah.
I agree that that should be the case. Um, I start to focus less on that audience for myself in terms of where I'm thinking, right? I
Yeah.
think it's really those, like you just hit on, those people who are adjusting to becoming blind need to watch this because of exactly what you said. That this community has unknowingly been brought up with a bunch of ideas and perceptions about blindness that they may not even be familiar, that they may not even know that they have. And now it's impacting them, and so they need to see PTC because it is aspirational, right? You aspired to do something, and you went and found a way and you made it happen. And it wasn't, you know, perfect in terms of, hey, she just went there and knew exactly what she was doing and got it done. No, no, that's not what happened. You had situations that you had to deal with. And like that is the lesson, because we always talk about this idea of overcoming blindness, overcoming disability. And I didn't see that in PTC. I
Mm.
saw you overcoming the obstacles of that place, right? Of society. And not, you were working with what you have. And that to me is something that, that to me is the lesson. That to me
Oh,
is
I
what
like
you
that.
do.
Yeah.
right? It's not about overcoming anything but society. And so if more people who are adjusting to blindness kind of understand that and see that, that to me will do a lot better, because then they can go out and do their own version of PTC in whatever that is, right? It may not be planes, trains, and canes, but it may be, whatever, something with whatever it is that they're interested in doing. And the more of that we have, then at some point, I think, change starts to really happen.
I agree. Yeah. That's the dream, right? I think that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this. It's like, this was my dream. Let me share with you kind of how I'm going about doing it. And I hope you follow your dream too.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be.
And that's real cool. And so I thank you for sharing that as a viewer.
Thank you for watching. Thomas, are there any other last comments, thoughts, anything you feel like people should hear from you?
I just want to tell people to go watch PTC, because if you haven't watched it yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. I don't know why you're wasting your time. Right? Stop wasting your time and go check it out. And maybe we can get more PTC if we're gonna get more of that, and if it's gonna be in different locations. I'd love to see it. I
would love to get funding to do a season 2. I want to go to Stockholm. They have advertised that their public transportation is fully accessible. And so I've not ever seen that from any other public transportation entities around the world. So I'm really intrigued. I would love to go there. And other continents too. So we have plans. If we get funding, we have plans for season 2.
Okay, come on. We got to make it happen then, Mona. Let's go.
I know, right? Like this is part of it. It's happened to everybody's network. So on that note, anyone who's listening and watching right now, share the word, like and subscribe, and definitely check out also Reid My Mind podcast, Reid My Mind radio. And thank you so much today, Thomas. This was an amazing interview. For everybody out there, this was Back to You, where we interview fans and supporters of Planes, Trains, and Canes. Take care. Have a good day.
Do you want to be on Planes, Trains, and Canes? Send us an email at planestrainsandcanes@gmail.com.
Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, Planes, Trains, and Canes. You can follow us on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And stay tuned for more episodes of Back to You.